You've been in movies, you've been in television shows.
I've been to Georgia and California and anywhere I could run.
Anywhere. Where do you, of those three locations, where do you find your most comfort? Do you like being on stage the most, or where do you?
I mean, I always think if I had a gun to my head, and the unlikely event that someone said, "Choose, Alan, choose." This is America after all. Who knows? I would choose the stage. Yeah, just because in a way, you know. I mean, look what I've got tattooed to my arm. Can you see? It says "Only Connect," and it's a quote from E.M. Forster, the English novelist. And it's just, I think the idea of why you want to be an artist of any kind is to sort of make sure you connect with people, you're a storyteller, but you want to make sure your story is heard and that you are heard and that you make a difference in some way and you provoke people and entertain them, but you connect. And so I think the most immediate way to do that is on stage, and especially doing a show like this, because there's no character between me and it's just me and a few musicians, and I'm just kind of bearing my soul, and so it's a very cathartic thing for me to do, but I think it's also really quite an intense thing for the audience. You'll certainly find out more about me than you ever wanted to know.
Well, and you get immediate audience feedback.
Yeah.
When we're on television, it's a camera. There's really not a lot that the camera gives back to you, but you get these people who are right in front of you. You can see the smiles, you can see this.
Yeah, you can feel it.
Everything.
And I think that, at any sort of, on films or anything, it's such a long time after you do it that you actually get that feeling of what the audience is thinking of it. I mean, on the day you get how the crew are feeling, and but they obviously are going to say nice things because they're working with you. But I think that idea of laying it on the line and being vulnerable to another human being, and the fact that other human being is there and you can feel it. And also, it's, I do some things in my show where people don't like. They might not agree with me politically, for example. But I think that's important too. I think it's important to just be your own man and I really do. I have found a really great thing from doing this show is that I go places and I think that because I'm honest and I'm just myself and I say what I feel, I'm authentic. I feel sometimes that people actually respect me more for that than if they completely agreed with everything I say. So it's a really great sort of lesson to learn about being true to yourself.
You, speaking of being true to yourself, one of the things that is very popular on public television are things like Finding Your Roots, Genealogy Roadshow. You went through an experience of kind of learning a little bit more about yourself and your family history. What was that process like, starting to dig backwards in your history, and how has that informed, have you kept going with that? Have you continued to learn more?
No, my mum has. My mum was quite into it anyway before, and then I did the BBC show Who Do You Think You Are? And they, at the end of when you finish it, they give you all the research that they had, or copies of it anyway, that because they do research much more about you than they actually use in the show, because there's obviously the stuff they do on TV is the most juicy, so there's lots of other kind of, I guess, more boring stuff that they give you. So that's actually was a really great gift to give to my mum, because she's really into all that, and she still goes to the National Library of Scotland and kind of looks up things for her friends and other relations. So that was really great. But the actual doing that show for me was like a life-changing experience, and I do talk about it in my show as well, because I did it, I found out all this stuff about my grandfather, who I didn't know at all. I mean, he died long before I was born, but it completely rocked my family and my life, actually. And then because I was doing that, my father, who I hadn't seen for nearly 20 years, told me something about that I wasn't, he told me I wasn't his son. And because he thought I was going to find out on TV. And so this whole, it was like a maelstrom. It couldn't have been more dramatic. And then I wrote my book called Not My Father's Son because of that. And that again was another sort of life-changing thing, because I was in writing it, being incredibly open and vulnerable and completely sort of changing. If you knew stuff about me, this would. I mean, it rocks people's worlds when they like. Even I love when I've been working with people and then they'll suddenly kind of, or just know me, and they'll suddenly read my book and they come in the next day and they're like, oh my God. And it's an incredible thing to sort of put that out into the world and kind of totally change people's perceptions of you. So it was all because of that Who Do You Think You Are show, actually. It really, I mean, it's not being histrionic to say it completely changed my life.
I started, because of a lot of our genealogy shows, I got an interest in it too and started kind of tracing back through. It's amazing the things that you can learn.
Yes.
And it's finding those ties to, well, how does that make me who I am today?
Yeah. Well, that's a very interesting thing because with me, it was my grandfather, which is one, generation away. And I realized in getting to know him, because you feel like you spend these weeks just poring over all these documents and go all over the world, sort of following and meeting people who knew him and everything. And I realized traits in myself that came from him. And I sort of recognized even things I hadn't really realized about myself that were very apparent in him. So it was a very interesting thing just in terms of, finding who you are, actually who you are, and how you think about yourself.